Good evening and happy Vesak Day. Hello, Bante. Thank you for sharing Dharma constantly, even on Vesak. And we have some new flowers on the altar thanks to Bradley. Hello, Bradley, who left this really sweet surprise outside of the door. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And hello, Edward, Janice, Stacy, Yenny, Javier, Ryan, Sally, Lilia, Diane, Victor, Julia. Great, so many people. Ron, welcome to AP. I'm not sure who AP is, but welcome anyway. And Richard, I think I said it already. Welcome twice. And welcome, Kevin. All right, so we will be taking the 8 precepts again, because there might be some people that, not that there might, actually, hello, Geeta as well. Some people asked to take them in the evening because they couldn't make it this morning. So if you have taken them already this morning, you can take them again, because why not? And for those who haven't, this is a great opportunity. And after that, we will be chanting the Anatalakkhana Sutta on page 15, and you can find the Abhayagiri chanting book link on the live chat. So feel free to click that. And the chanting for taking the precepts is also on the live chat. All right, and I'll pass it on to Bhante Sudhasan.
Great, thank you. So welcome back again, friends. Happy that you're joining in for part 2 of our E-Vesak Day. So as mentioned, we'll start with taking the 8 precepts. So I will chant each line, and then you respond by repeating that line. So Ayasoma will be taking the role of the repeater, so you can chant together with her. And then after that, we'll chant the Anatalakkhana Sutta together. So please repeat after me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
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 Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddham saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammam saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Sangham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapamadattana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana.
Nacha gita vadita visukadasana.
Mala gandha vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanathana.
Mala gandha vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanattana.
Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Uchasayana mahasayana veramani sikkhapadam samadhiyami.
Silena sugating yanti, silena bhoga sampada, silena nibbuting yanti, tasma silang visodaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So now we can chant the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta together. So this is usually spoken of as the second discourse of the Buddha, though again, that's not exactly accurate. So the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, as I mentioned this morning, is not quite the first teaching the Buddha gave, but it's the first recorded full-length sutta that we have. But there are other bits and pieces which the Buddha taught before the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, some of which are recorded and some of which are not. Similarly, between the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, the Buddha gave a series of teachings to the 5 disciples. And the exact details of those teachings are not recorded. But once he had sufficiently prepared them, once he felt that they were ready for the instruction on not self, on the Anatta Lakkhana teachings, the teachings on the characteristic of not self, then he delivered this particular teaching, the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. And the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta ends with all 5 of the disciples attaining full enlightenment, all 5 of them becoming arhats. So this also is a very important thing to recollect on this Vesak day, which is that the enlightenment of the Buddha is not exclusive to the Buddha, but it's something which anyone can realize for themselves by following the Buddha's teachings. So keep this in mind as we chant the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, that this sutta was what caused the first arhats after the Buddha. This sutta was what caused the first people other than the Buddha in this era to attain enlightenment. So again, we'll start with chanting Namo Tassa 3 times, and then we'll chant the sutta together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Evang me sutang ekam samayang bhagava varanasiyang viharati sipatane megadaye tatrako bhagava panchavagiye bhikkhu amante si rupam bhikkhave yanata rupam chahedam Ekave atta abhave sanayedam rupam abadhaya sangvateya labhe tacha rupe evam me rupam hotu evam me rupam mahositi yasmachako bhikkhave rupam anatta tasma rupam abadhaya samvatati nachalabhati rupe evam me rupam hotu evam me rupam mahositi vedana anatta vedana chaidam bhikkhave atta abhave sanayedam vedana abadhaya samvateya labhe tacha vedanaya evam me vedana hotu evam me vedana mahositi yasmachako bhikkhave vedana anatta tasma vedana abadhaya samvatati nachalabhati vedanaya evam me vedana hotu evam me vedana mahositi sanyanatta sanya chahedam bhikkhave atta bhave sanayedam sanya abadhaya samvateya labhe tacha sanyaya evam me sanya hotu evam me sanya mahositi yasmachako bhikkhave sanya anatta tasma sanya abadhaya samvatati nachalabhati sanyaya evam me sanya hotu evam me sanya mahositi sankhara anatta sankhara chahedam bhikkhave atta bhave samsudayedam sankhara abadhaya sangvateyum labhe tacha sankhare su evam me sankhara hontu evam me sankhara mahe sunti yasmachako bhikkhave sankhara anatta tasma sankhara abadhaya sangvatanti nachalabhati sankhare su evam me sankhara hontu evam me sankhara mahe sunti viññānam anatta viññānam chahedam bhikkhave atta bhave sanayedam viññānam abadhaya samvadeya labhe tacha viññāne evam me viññānam hotu evam me viññānam mahositi yasmachako bhikkhave viññānam anatta tasma viññānam abadhaya samvadeya tatina chala bhati vinyane evam me vinyanam hotu evam me vinyanam mahositi Tangking manyata bekave rupam nichang va dhyanichang bhante yambana nichang dukang sukhang vati dukang bhante yambana nichang dukang viparinama dhammam kalang nutang samanupasitum Etang mama eso hamasmi eso me atati no etang bante tang king manyata bekave veganani anicca bante yambanani chang dukang vadang sukang vati dukang bante yambanani chang dukang Parinama Dhammam Kalam Nutang Samanupasitum Etam Mama Eso Hamasmi Eso Me Atati No Hetam Bhante Tam King Manyata Bekave Sanya Nichavati Anicca Panane chang dukang vadang sukang vati dukang bhante yam panane chang dukang viparinama dhammam kalang nutang samanupasitum etang mama eso hamasmi eso me Atati no hetam bhante tam king manyata bekave sankhara nichavati anicca bhante yambanane chang dukang vadang sukang vati dukang bhante yambanane chang dukang viparinama dhammam Kalang nutang samanupasitung etang mama eso hamasmi eso me atati no hetam bhante tam king manyata bekave vinyanam nichang vati anicang bhante Yambanane chang dukang vadang sukang vati dukang bhante Yambanane chang dukang viparinama dhammam kalang nutang samanupasitung etam mama eso hamasmi eso me atati no etam bhante Tasmadiha bhekave yam kinchi rupang adhitana gatapachupannang ajjattam va bahidava olarikam va sukamang va hinang va panitam va yandure santike va sabam rupam Netang mama neso hamasmi nameso atati eva metang yatha bhutang sammapanya yadata bangya vedana adhidhana gatapachupanna ajjattava bahidava Olarikava Sukumava Hinava Panitava Yadure Santikeva Sabha Vedanane Tammamaneso Hamasminameso Atati Eva Metam Yatha Bhutang Sammapanya Yadata Bangya Kachi Sanya Adhidhana Gatapachupanna Anjattava Bahidava Olarikava Sukumava Hinava Vanitava Yadure Santikeva Sabha Sanyane Tammamaneso Hamasminameso Attati Eva Medam Yatha Bhutang Sammapanya Yadata Bangye Kechi Adhitanagata Pachumbana Jattava Bahindava Olarikava Sukumava Hinava Panitava Yedure Santikeva Sabe Sankara Netam Mama Neso Amasmina Meso Attati Eva Medham Yata Bhutam Sammapanyaya Datavam Yankinchi Vinyanam Adhitana Gatapachupannam Anjattam Va Bahindava Olarikam Va Sukumam Va Hinam Va Panitam Va Yandure Santikeva Sabam Vinyanam Netam Mama Neso Amasmina Meso Attati Eva Metam Yata Bhutam Sammapanyaya Datavam Evam Bhassang Bhekave Suttavarya Savako Rupasming Vinibindati Vedanaya Pinibindati Sanyaya Pinibindati Samkare Supinibindati Vinyanasming Vinibindati Nimbindang Virajati Viraga Vimuchati Vimutasming Vimutamiti Jnanam Potikina Jati Vositam Brahmacharyam Katam Karaniyam Naparang Tatayati Pajanati Tidamavocha Bhagava Adamana Vanjavagiya Bheko Bhagavato Bhasitam Avinandong Imasmin Japanaveya Karanasmin Vanyamane Panchavagiyanam Bheko Nam Anubhadaya Asavehi Chittani Vimuching Suti Anatalakana Sutang Netitam. All right, so at this time, please get in a meditation posture. So if you want to feel connected to the Buddha, you can sit in the full lotus position as the Buddha did the night of his enlightenment. If you want to have a weaker connection to the Buddha, then you can sit in the half lotus or quarter lotus posture, or the simple posture as it's called. Or if you want an even further connection, you can sit in the kneeling position or even in a chair. Ayasoma's rolling her eyes as she likes to do when I say these things.
Gabrielle is saying, hey, I managed half lotus yesterday, Bante.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. I'm really happy for you, Gabrielle.
Says, no, not so hard with hip exercises.
Yes, it is doable.
So by saying this, you're encouraging Bante to keep harassing us with a lotus position.
Of course, I'm going to keep suggesting lotus position until everyone is sitting in lotus position.
And she says, but I will continue to strive. One day I will make full lotus.
Yes, you will, Gabriella. Excellent. So please sit in a sitting position which is pushing your limits a little bit. So if you feel like quarter lotus is just too easy, then push yourself to sit in half lotus today. So push your limits a little bit. That's how we make progress in Buddhism, is by pushing our limits. If we just do what's comfortable all the time, we will never attain enlightenment. We need to be willing to push our limits, but not to push too hard, because then we can get discouraged. But push our limits at least a little bit.
Victor says, when I was younger, no problem.
Well, then you know it's possible, Victor. Banteji started sitting full lotus at the age of 60. So it can be done. Anyway, so please get in your meditation posture, settling into position. Take a few deep breaths. With each breath, allowing the body and mind to relax and settle into stillness. Bring to mind an image of the Buddha. If you're sitting in front of a Buddha statue, you might look at that statue to get an image in mind. If you're not sitting in front of a Buddha statue, just bring to mind any image which you can recall. Then, with eyes closed, keep that image before your mind's eye, an image of the Buddha. And let that image be of a living being. So, not a picture of a statue, but as though there actually was an image of a living, breathing being. So, holding the image of a living Buddha in mind. Feeling the gentleness, the serenity, the mental clarity radiating from this being. So that as we sit here in the presence of the Buddha, we are bathed in the warm glow of his compassion, his gentleness, his wisdom, his strength. You can feel it in your body and mind. Letting a slight smile come to your lips, basking in the radiant glory of the Buddha's wisdom and gentleness. Remembering the qualities of the Buddha. So he is the prosperous one, Bhagava. He is the one who has attained that which is most valuable. He has attained complete liberation of mind, that which is more precious than anything else. He is the Bhagava. the prosperous one. Just reflecting on that quality for a few moments. He is the prosperous one, the one who has attained the most valuable thing imaginable, complete liberation of mind. And keeping that image of a living Buddha sitting in front of us, radiating gentleness and wisdom, we bring to mind his next quality. He is the worthy one, Arahant. He is the one worthy of respect, worthy of reverence, worthy of being worshipped. He is the most respectable being imaginable because he has developed infinite wisdom and compassion. He has developed the most praiseworthy qualities imaginable. A heart so full of compassion that he wishes to save every sentient being from their self-inflicted suffering. Such admirable compassion. A being of such deep wisdom that he clearly sees the true nature of reality in each moment. Such praiseworthy wisdom. And a being who has fully purified his own conduct, who never says anything evil, never does anything evil, never even thinks an evil thought for a fraction of a second. So respectable, so praiseworthy, so worthy of honor and respect. He is the worthy one, Arahant. Sitting in the presence of the Buddha, we remember that he is fully self-awakened being, the Samma Sambuddha. His enlightenment is Samma, it's complete, it's thorough, it's correct, it's proper, it's serene. And he attained it by himself through his own effort over countless lifetimes, developing all the necessary virtues, qualities, and conditions to attain complete awakening on his own. He is the Samma Sambuddha, the completely, rightly self-awakened one. And he is endowed with perfect knowledge and behavior. Vidya charana sampanno. So his understanding of reality is perfect, complete, thorough, nothing missing. And his behavior is impeccable. He acts only from a place of compassion and self-restraint. He never says, does, or thinks anything harmful at all. He has vidya charana sampanna, perfect knowledge and behavior. He is the blissful one, Sugato. So from the moment of his awakening, every single moment of his life was a good moment. Every single moment was blissful, peaceful, sublime. Every step he took, every breath, every moment was a good moment, a happy moment, a peaceful moment, a sublime moment. As it is for one's mind, whose mind is completely pure. He is the blissful one, Sugato. Every moment, a moment of bliss, of serene joy, the joy of a pure mind. Feeling the blissful presence of the Buddha and remembering he is the knower of the world, Lokavidu. He clearly knows the world exactly as it is. He fully knows the nature of reality exactly as it is, with no distortion, no confusion, no misperception. He knows it exactly as it is. He is the knower of the world, Lokavidu. He is the unsurpassed trainer of those who can be taught. Anuttaro Purisadhammasarati. So he always knew the right teachings to present, the teachings that would help us attain awakening. Whenever he was faced with someone who wanted to learn, he could teach them. And he had the foresight to know that his teachings would last thousands of years, touching billions of people. And he delivered teachings that would apply to all of us through this long span of time, right down to the present day. So he was the perfect teacher, teaching the path to enlightenment in a way that could be understood even thousands of years after his death. So we feel the blessings of inheriting the teachings of the unsurpassed trainer of teachable people, Anuttaro Prasadhammasarati. And a Buddha is a teacher of both angels and humans. Satta Deva Manusana. So a Buddha's wisdom and purity surpasses even the highest gods, even the most magnificent heavenly beings. Even the most magnificent heavenly beings come to the Buddha for teachings, because the Buddha's wisdom and purity surpasses all of them. He is the teacher of angels and humans. Satta Deva Manusana. He is awake, Buddha. He is awake. He has woken up from the confused dream that the rest of us are caught in. He has woken up to reality as it is. He is no longer caught in illusion, in delusion, in misconception. He is completely, fully awake. The Buddha, the one who is awake. And one who has all these qualities has the most valuable wealth imaginable. So again, we call him the prosperous one, Bhagava. And he shares that wealth and prosperity freely. The wealth of the Dhamma, prosperity of wisdom and compassion. He shares it freely with as many beings as possible. So sitting here, feeling the warmth, the radiance of the presence of the Buddha, of the infinitely gentle and wise one. And towards that magnificent being, we express gratitude, feeling the gratitude welling up within us. Uttering these simple words, thank you, thank you, thank you. So you can relax your posture. Feeling the sense of peacefulness and joy that comes from recollecting the Buddha, of being in the presence of the Buddha. Sometimes we think of the Buddha as being someone who died a long time ago, but that's not quite true. When we bring the Buddha to mind, it's as though he's right here with us. When we bring the Buddha to mind, it's like being in his presence. We can still feel the blessings of the Buddha right here, right now, right where we sit. And when we connect with his teachings, his qualities, his legacy, then it's like connecting directly with the Buddha. It's like feeling that intimate heart connection with the awakened one. And it's good to remember that we already have a strong karmic affinity with the Buddha, and with this Buddha in particular, the Shakyamuni Buddha, Gautama Buddha. We already have a strong karmic affinity with him. That's why we've been born in a time and place of his dispensation, because of that connection that we already have. So that connection is right here. We can feel it within ourselves when we turn attention to it. And when we feel that connection, we feel the Buddha. We feel his purity. We feel his wisdom. We feel his compassion. It's right here. It's not in some distant time and place. It's not in a book. It's right here in our own hearts. It's something we can touch for ourselves, something we can feel for ourselves. So I really encourage you to take the time to nourish this sense of connection with the Buddha, the sense of affinity with the Buddha, and a sense of the living presence of the Buddha. Again, not thinking of the Buddha as some dead relic from the past, but thinking of the Buddha as a living presence which inhabits our daily lives, which we feel embracing us in every moment, and whose qualities we can develop within ourselves. We who are the heirs of the Buddha can become like him. We can become more and more like him with every passing moment. So nurturing this sense of connection with the Buddha by turning our mind towards the Buddha, moment by moment, constantly turning the mind towards the Buddha, recollecting the Buddha, feeling the presence of the Buddha, cultivating a deep sense of reverence, respect, gratitude, affection for the Buddha. And forming that deep, unshakable vow to follow in his footsteps, to follow his teachings, to follow the practices that he taught, so that we may realize what he realized. So we may develop that same boundless wisdom and compassion that he did. The Buddha said, "One who sees me sees the Dhamma, one who sees the Dhamma sees me." So this means that whenever we cultivate the path of the Buddha, it's like being face to face with him. Whenever we live in accordance with his teachings, it's like living side by side with the Buddha, walking side by side with the Buddha. He is not distant, he is not far away, he's right here with us whenever we direct our mind towards him. So always live with your mind pointed towards the Buddha. A friend of mine once asked Bhante Gunaratana, how often should we think about the Buddha? And Bhante Ji replied, every moment. So in constantly recollecting the Buddha, our practice gains a deep warmth and power, a nourishing vitality, a soothing, comforting glow saturates our practice. And this is necessary. This is necessary to keep us going through difficult times, because there are difficult times in our practice. There are times when the practice seems like a struggle, when it seems dark, it seems grim, seems dreary, seems boring, seems painful. So we saturate the mind with the warm, loving presence of the Buddha, that radiant purity and wisdom, that unspeakable gentleness of the completely purified heart. And the darkness recedes from the mind. And the path becomes clear again. And we can move forward with joy, with serenity, with confidence. So let this Vesak day be a reminder to us to always recollect the Buddha and to cultivate this feeling of his living presence, this tangible feeling of the presence of the mind and heart of the Buddha within our own mind, within our own heart, embracing us, walking with us, gladdening us, bringing peace and inspiration to every moment. So I think that's all I have to say for now. So at this time, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to type them in the YouTube live chat and I'll speak to them as best I can. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bhante, for guiding us in that beautiful meditation and for sharing words on the Buddha. So lots of appreciation, especially contemplating the Buddha every single moment. And Sally says, today I lived under Bhante's instruction, more joy arises. No matter in terms of space, time, species, or realms. It's so rare that we encounter Buddha's teachings right now, right here. Once recalls, happiness arises. I felt I treasured this more than ever before. Also, when I'm mindful of the body, I recall that I'm living like the Buddha just a tiny bit, 2,500 years ago. We'll continue these from now on. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu for the offering flower.
Great.
That's very lovely to hear. And hello, Jens, good to see you. And Marielle says, I was wondering if it is fine to talk to the Buddha in our minds. Sometimes I do that, as if I'm asking an old friend for advice.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Gabriella's asking, do we visualize the Buddha with or without the 32 major and 80 some minor marks?
Visualize him in the way that naturally comes up for you as evoking the Buddha. So for me, when I visualize the Buddha, I'm not thinking of the 32 major and 80 minor marks. No. In fact, if I did, that would probably weaken my faith and I would start to get disgusted with the practice. So no, I don't use that. But if that's something that works for you, then that's okay. But for me, I don't. I think of a radiant, peaceful monk, actually. That's what he looks like to me in my mind. He looks like a northern Indian man wearing robes like this, with a very peaceful, serene demeanor, radiating gentleness. Someone who looks at you with the eyes of the deepest, unimaginable love. That's what he looks like in my mind. That has nothing to do with the 32 marks. But if that works for you, you can do that. It's okay.
She says, okay, Bhante, because I have a hard time with that. So I just imagine him as a venerable monk. Yeah, and without the cranial protrusion.
Yeah. Similarly, in my mind, when I think of the Buddha, he doesn't quite look like a Buddha statue. Like, he doesn't have the curly hair and he doesn't have the huge bump on the head. He doesn't have the oversized earlobes. When I visualize the Buddha, he just looks like a monk. But the absolute perfect monk. Okay?
And hello, Ayasudhamma.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome, Venerable. Happy you're joining in.
Yeah, she's saying, beautiful, Bhante, thank you. Happy Vesak from North Carolina. Happy Vesak from us as well, from Empty Cloud Monastery. Hopefully you will be able to come and visit us soon as the pandemic is over. Hopefully it will be over. Everything is impermanent, including the pandemic. But
well, the human race might be more impermanent. We'll see.
We'll see. And Yanni says, Bhante, when you said think of the Buddha every moment, it reminds me of the word Amitabha, which I remember quite often. Amitabha, also known as Amitabha Buddha, and Shakyamuni Buddha, are they the same?
So one monastic who has taught with us a few times, so she's a bhikkhuni who practices Pure Land Buddhism. She said that all the different Buddhas are like different facets of one gem. So from one perspective, you can say that every facet is different, but from another perspective, you can say it's just one gem. So from one perspective, you can say that Shakyamuni and Amitabha are different, but from another perspective, it's just the Buddha. So I don't see any problem at all with recollecting Amitabha Buddha. And actually, I've had incredibly profound results from practicing Pure Land methods, recollecting Amitabha Buddha. Ultimately, Amitabha Buddha has exactly the same qualities as Shakyamuni Buddha. So there's no problem there. So if reciting Amitabha keeps your mind on the Buddha, then that's recollection of the Buddha. That's exactly what we're talking about here. Buddhanussati, recollection of the Buddha. Yeah. And in fact, in Chinese, the term that they use for that practice is nianfo, which literally means Buddhanussati, recollection of the Buddha, mindfulness of the Buddha.
Thank you. And Victor says, in my country, Vesak Day, my country for Victor is Indonesia. In my country, Vesak Day, we celebrate 3 holy events: the birth, the enlightenment, and the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. Is it the same of you celebrating in the US? Because China have different day for each event.
So in the Theravada tradition, those 3 events are on the same day. In the Mahayana tradition, they're on 3 separate days. but the day of his birth usually more or less corresponds to Vesak. But the day of his enlightenment and the day of his parinibbana are on different times of the year. I don't remember off the top of my head when they occur, and it's different in different countries anyway. Yeah.
And Jen is saying, today I've done the best ever with precepts so far. Yay, well done. So many chances to practice, so many little things I realized I hold much attachments to, besides feeling a little hungry. I'm so happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Great, well done.
And Aya Sudama is asking, is there any one aspect of the Buddha's life that most deeply moves or inspires you?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I have to say it's the moment when he decided to teach. When shortly after his enlightenment, he decided to teach. When he looked out at the world with the purified supernatural vision of a Buddha, and he saw that there were people who could understand, and he made the resolve, I will go forth and teach the Dhamma, so that others may attain enlightenment as well. That inspires me.
Oh, and Mark says the cutest thing. Thank you for such a powerful, loving talk and being the wonderful and fine teacher you are.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And Gabriella is asking, I also wonder, is it better to venerate the Buddha aniconically? Aniconically?
Oh, yeah. Without an image.
Oh,
Like
no icon.
Like non-icon, without an icon.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a matter of result. What works for you? I get great results with Buddha images. They work really well for me. I find the aniconic representations a little too abstract for me. But I know a few people for whom they really love it. They really love the Buddha footprint icons. Technically, that's an icon, I suppose. But they really love the Buddha footprint images. Or other people, Bodhi trees bring up a deep sense of faith and joy for them. So it's a matter of what works. Buddha statues and Buddha images, Bodhisattva statues, Bodhisattva images, these work really well for me. And they work really well for many people, which is probably why they've been so popular for the past 2,000 years. But maybe for you it's different. So see what works.
And Gabriella is saying, Amitabha is a representation of enlightened speech of Gautama Buddha.
I've never heard that before, but okay.
Kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, every Buddha is just a representation of every other Buddha. Every Buddha is simply emphasizing one particular aspect of the enlightened mind.
Oh, she says, in most Pure Land groups I have met, this is the idea. I hadn't heard that one before, but actually, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I haven't heard it before either, but I'm not opposed. Yeah.
And Sally is asking, Bhante, at the moment of dying, if I don't have jhana yet, and I recite Buddha like this, where will I be reborn? I do have wandering thoughts during meditation, though. Felt it's a gambling. The last thought is Buddha or restless thought. So, not sure if it's restless. If restless thought will bring to which realm.
So there's this relatively common misconception that the whatever random thought happens to be in your mind at the exact moment of death is what determines your next rebirth. There is no basis for this in the suttas. I don't know where this belief comes from. Rather, what we see in the suttas is quite clearly that all of your past karma that has not yet ripen. So every choice that you've made in the past, all of that together determines what happens to you in future lives. So it's not like you've been cultivating infinite good karma for 100,000 lifetimes, and then right before you die, you have a little thought about killing a mosquito, and that ruins everything and you go straight to hell. It's not like that. Rather, all that force of good karma will still propel you in a good direction. And just having one bad thought right before death is not going to screw up all of your good karma. So, yeah, of course, you should try to practice at the time of death. But realistically, it also goes the other way as well. If somebody has been living an absolutely horrible, wretched life filled with bad karma, and then right before they die, they think about the Buddha, well, that doesn't just magically erase all of their bad karma. So you can't erase your past karma. You can only mindfully endure its results. You can't erase it. So I don't buy into this belief that your final thought is the sole and only thing that determines your rebirth. I don't see any basis for that. So still, by all means, try to think about the Buddha as you're dying. That's a great plan. But if you think about the Buddha for 10 minutes and then you spend like half a second thinking about Harry Potter and that's when you die, that doesn't screw you up for your next lifetime.
But think about the Buddha.
Yeah.
No Harry Potter. And Jay is asking, what are your thoughts on the role of Buddhism in future social change? Happy Vesak.
Well, Buddhism has a lot of really valuable things to say about kindness and compassion and gentleness and caring about each other. The Buddha also said a fair bit about the ideal society, ideal ways to set things up. So we'll be talking about that in a week or two, I think, or maybe a bit longer. I don't know. It's whenever it shows up on the calendar. So one element of that is that the Buddha did encourage social welfare programs, things that support those in need, things that provide for the poor and the sick. Yeah, if everybody in the world was living according to Buddhist principles, then human society would be dramatically different, and it would be a much nicer place to live. Okay.
Jen says, I was under the understanding that if you recited Namo Abhitaba at the moment of death, you would be reborn in his Pure Land.
There's a little more to it than that. So Pure Land teachers have a tendency to leave out the fine print. So one element of the fine print is you also have to have perfect morality. That's the one which people tend to skip on. Yeah.
And some Christina on Facebook, I just happened to see it. I think thinking about Harry Potter. Harry Potter before death. Maybe then you would be reborn into Hogwarts.
Which some people, that might be the rebirth that they want, but I would rather have the Pure Land personally. If I had to pick between Hogwarts and Pure Land, I'll go with Pure Land.
I don't even know what Hogwarts is because I never watched Harry Potter, but I figured it was related to Harry Potter and I found it hilarious. Oh, we also have Raymond who says rebirth in Hogwarts. Apparently, it's a common theme.
It's part of American culture.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, everybody knows Harry Potter references.
What is Hogwarts?
It's the school where Harry Potter and his other friends go.
Oh, I see. And Ron is asking, could you say more about the importance of specific meditation postures?
Yeah, I mean, briefly speaking, the basic thing is to sit up straight, because sitting up straight supports alertness of mind and keeps the body relatively healthy and comfortable. So sitting up straight is very, very useful. Sitting in a cross-legged position is specifically mentioned repeatedly throughout the Pali Canon. So it's not something that can be easily ignored. The Buddha said over and over and over again to sit in a cross-legged position. Then of the cross-legged positions, the full lotus position, again, it supports alertness of mind, and it supports an energetic body. So this is something which I've really come to appreciate in the last few years in particular. I've really come to appreciate that there is a subtle improvement in meditation through sitting in the full lotus position. And this is nothing new. Buddhist teachers have been talking about this for as long as there's been Buddhism. And it's really heavily emphasized in some schools of Buddhism. So especially in the Chan and Zen schools, they put a huge emphasis on sitting in full lotus. Also in some branches of Tibetan Buddhism, they put a lot of emphasis on sitting full lotus. In Theravada, it's not so heavily emphasized, but it is there as being an example of an ideal position, but it's not as heavily emphasized. But yeah, try it out for yourself. That was what really brought me to an appreciation for it, was just sitting in full lotus time and time again. And I started to realize that it actually does make a significant difference to the clarity of the mind. Yeah.
And Sally says, so is the chance to be reborn as a being that encounters Buddhism again by thinking about Buddha high, or what's the possible reborns?
Yeah, it certainly helps. Build a strong affinity with Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha in this life. And that makes it much more likely that you'll be reborn somewhere where you'll have access to it in future lives. Also, make the resolution. Make the resolve. If I do not attain enlightenment in this life, may I always be reborn in a time and place where Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha are available. Make that vow every day, in fact. Okay.
And Karenju, good to see you online. She's asking, do you two have suggestions on how to make the most of quarantine time to further our practice?
Yeah, do a lot of meditation, do a lot of sutta study, listen to Dhamma talks on YouTube. You're off to a great start in that you're joining in tonight. Yeah, take the opportunity. Treat it like your own personal monastery.
Yes, log in morning and evening. We're offering sutta study every morning, thanks to Bhante Sudaso. And every evening we're sharing Dharma, thanks to also Bhante Sudaso.
And Ayasoma also sometimes appears on the schedule.
To give a break to Bhante Sudaso. And also we have some guest monastics too appearing here and there. So we've been doing that since day one of the pandemic. So you're welcome to take the most out of this quarantine life and to delve deeply into the teachings. And Sally says, so when we recite Buddha Buddha in daily life, we use the feeling of metta from Buddha's presence rather than an image, since the eye consciousness in daily life is very busy.
Whatever works. Really anything that keeps your mind directed towards the Buddha is fine. So I personally don't recite Buddha Buddha. That's not something I do. I did it for a while, a few years back, just to try it out, but I didn't really get much mileage out of it. But if it works for you, that's great. The important thing, again, is just keeping the mind pointed towards the Buddha in any way that works. Okay.
In AP is asking, is there a disagreement among Buddhists if Digha Nikaya is Buddha's words or not?
Yes. The general, so even those who are a bit skeptical about its contents generally consider most of it to be fairly reliable. There's just a few weird bits here and there which are debatable. but particularly the doctrinal content of it is all quite solid. It's more some of the storyline details which raises eyebrows here and there. But again, I'm not the best person to ask about these things. You can find a lot of articles online which talk about different sections of the suttas and compares them to other strata of the canon and so on. I'm not the best person to go into about those things. But yeah, the doctrinal content of the Digha Nikaya is fine. Again, where there's some debate is about things like the precise order of events in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. That's where scholars get into like nitpicking about minor details here and there. Yeah.
And Diane is asking, I'm not quite sure I understand what half lotus and quarter lotus are. And Jen is saying, so the statue behind Bhante is half lotus, correct?
No, it's quarter lotus. Yeah, the statue behind me is quarter lotus. So in quarter lotus, the foot is resting on the opposite calf. In half lotus, the foot is resting on the opposite thigh with the heel against your abdomen. You can find great pictures if you look online. There's a lot of different websites, especially, again, websites associated with the Zen and Chan traditions, because they really get into emphasizing full lotus. There's a lot of great clear pictures which will show you what the postures look like and how to do them correctly. For the record, Ayasoma has now rolled her eyes about half a dozen times. Basically, every time I say the word lotus, her eyes roll, which is not a good association since lotus is an image of purity and awakening in Buddhism.
I am totally fine with lotus. I'm not a particular fan of emphasizing the
let's try
position.
This. Full lotus. Okay, she didn't roll her eyes that time.
I just think it's not terribly essential for people to be in a particular position. Anyway, Stacy says, thank you, Bhante. I was visualizing Buddha without a distinct gender identity. Is the Buddha's gender significant?
No.
All right. And
he actually, when I visualize the Buddha, he looks androgynous. Yeah.
And Bradley says, I have opened the quotes. I have opened the safe, secure path that leads to bliss. ... What is it to be done out of compassion by a teacher who seeks the welfare of his disciples has been done by me for you. There are these three roots. Tree roots, yeah. There are these empty buildings. Meditate. Do not be negligent. Do not be one who later falls into regret. This is my instruction for you. Yeah. Inspiring.
Yeah.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for sharing. And pro-trekking. Well, we don't know the name, but I assume someone who likes trekking. Says, the 5 strings of sensual pleasures are described in the suttas. Why not 6 if the mind is also qualified as sense?
Yeah, that's a long debate. There's a lot of different theories on that. I think it's more just that he's emphasizing sensuality. In this case, he's emphasizing physical sensuality. So that's why he says 5. Normally, when he's talking about the 5 kama guna, the 5 strands of sensuality, he's talking about people trying to get things in the outside world that will bring them pleasure. So I think that's why he makes that distinction. That's a little off topic though, so let's try to stick on the topic of the Buddha, especially since we're almost out of time for the evening. So we have monk chat, I think, tomorrow evening, so that's the time to talk about everything off topic.
And there is a big discussion on the lotus position and flexibility and not to harm yourself. Yes, I agree with that. You can harm with your knees. Thank you for bringing that up, Bradley. We, of course, do not want for that to happen, especially in these days, since healthcare workers have enough work to take care of. We don't want crazy injuries. So gradually work on your posture, but don't overdo it. Okay, so I think that's it. So thank you so much, Bante, for sharing the Dharma as usual. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We will be meeting with Bante Sudasa again tomorrow morning, and there will be a special Vesak week sutta study. So we will be studying the Ratana Sutta, which is the sutta that we've been chanting every day since the beginning of the pandemic, and that we normally chant in the evening with you guys. It's just that today was Vesak, so we shifted things a little bit. But we will be chanting it tomorrow morning, and we will also be doing the sutta study. And then we will be meeting in the evening again at 7:30 p.m. for monk chat. So you can bring all your Buddhist questions and non-Buddhist questions, and we'll try to answer both. So we'll definitely answer the Buddhist ones, and we'll see what we can do about the non-Buddhist ones. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll have two special day-longs with Bante Sudaso, guest monk. And they will be the two last sessions of the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So we will be practicing on both Saturday and Sunday. So there will be 2 extra meetings. So we'll be meeting as usual 8 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. But we will also be meeting at 2:30 p.m. for a guided meditation. And then on Monday we'll start again with 8 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. New York City time, of course, with our usual program. So happy Vesak, and look forward to seeing you soon. Oh, Denise said, thank you, Bante. Your Buddhanussati made me realize I have devotion for the Buddha that I never even had for Jesus, which my evangelical parents always found so incomprehensible. And Gabriela says we were supposed to have 1 million fatalities from coronavirus in America. Only your actions has lowered it by that significantly.
So monk chat. We'll talk about that in monk chat.
I don't think it's a question. I think it's a statement.
Oh. Okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Happy Vesak Day. May you all be well and happy and safe and peaceful. See you tomorrow.